All right, so moving on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my personal updated men's UFC pound for pound list. So, the rules for my UFC pound for pound list. Being on this list and this particular order that each respective fighter is on is due to the fact that pure skill, wins, accolades, and last but not least, the most important thing that should go on all pound for pound lists, whether we're talking about MMA, boxing, you name the sport, always activity plays a factor on a pound for pound list, especially on this podcast. So 1 through 10, my UFC pound for pound list. Islam Makhachev at number 1. Number 2, Alex Pereira. Number 3, John Jones. Number 4, Sean O'Malley. Number 5, Ilia Topuria. Number 6, Alexandria Pantoja. Number 7, Tom Aspinall. Number 8, Israel Adesanya. Number 9, Max Holloway. Number 10, Bilal Muhammad. A lot of these fighters that I just named are currently reigning defending champions in the UFC. Again, they deserve to be on my pound for pound list due to pure skill, due to accolades, due to being a dominant force in the octagon, and last but not least, the most important factor is activity. Activity matters on any pound for pound list in MMA or boxing, and that's the reason why I have these particular fighters ranked 1 through 10 on my updated UFC pound for pound list. But this ain't over yet. Let's get into a closer look over the reasons why I have these fighters ranked 1 through 10 right now in the UFC. So, at number 1, Islam Makhachev is number 1. Islam Makhachev obviously is the reigning defending lightweight champion in the UFC. I've given him the number 1 spot because he has defeated, on his quest being the top guy in the lightweight division, he defeated Charles Oliveira back in October or September 2022. Defeated him by submission to win the lightweight title. Then defeated, at the time, pound for pound great and Alexander Volkanovski twice on 2 separate occasions in the same year. Defeated him by decision, and then defeated him by knockout in the first round. Islam Makhachev, to me, is off to a good start in the lightweight division. I have been criticizing him over the last few months. If you guys have followed the combat series, I did say that Dustin Poirier was his biggest test at the lightweight division, due to the fact that Islam Makhachev, even though he defeated Alexander Volkanovski twice, Dustin Poirier is the only guy that he defeated that it was a top 5 contender that contended for the lightweight title while Islam Makhachev was the champion. So I feel like the way how he's battling, he's a good striker, outstanding grappler and wrestler. I just feel like his style right now could be unbeatable at lightweight or welterweight. We don't know yet. I have not seen him really. Dustin, I would say, actually, I'll take that back. The Alexander Volkanovski, the first fight, was the way I seen him really dig down deep and test himself to see where he was adversity-wise. And I saw he's the true champion when he did that. And you can say a glimpse of when during the Dustin Poirier fight where he was getting clipped with some nasty strikes by Dustin Poirier. But I just feel like right now, his style right now, lightweight or welterweight, might be unbeatable. And that's the reason why I have him number 1 on my pound for pound list. Now, number 2, Alex Pereira, of course, the reigning defending light heavyweight champion in the UFC, one of the fastest rising stars in UFC history, already a 2-division world champion and under 12 UFC fights, and is already at the top of the mountain, a big time star. He's already been the savior for a lot of UFC events. UFC 295 last year saved that event in the main event against Yuri Prochazka. Then did it again in the main event of UFC 303 against Yuri Prochazka. So the man has been a savior. He's one of the fastest rising stars in UFC history. The man, his kickboxing background, the reason why he's a force and a freak of nature, already defeating the likes of Israel Adesanya, one of the greatest middleweight champions in UFC history. Already defeated Yuri Prochazka twice and knocked out Jamal Hill in the main event of UFC 300 with under 5 minutes to do so. So I will have to say Alex Pereira is the reason. He's one of those fighters I could throw in the conversation that could possibly be the first ever 3-division world champion in the UFC. The man has all the skills to do it, just has to touch up on that wrestling and the grappling department. I think it could be a threat whenever he decides to move up to the heavyweight division. But Alex Pereira deserves to be number 2 on my list. Now, number 3, John Jones. John Jones is the GOAT. the greatest of all time. Personally, to me, in the UFC history, the greatest fighter to ever step foot in the octagon in the MMA world. Still the baddest man on the planet. 27 victories. Yes, that one disqualification loss, but I consider Jon Jones undefeated. 10 victories come away of knockout, 7 victories come away of submission, 2 division world champion. And he's fought the best of the best. However, inactivity is the reason why Jon Jones is number 3 on my list. Now, Dana White, you can suck him off. I say that respectfully. You can do everything you want to defend the case of why Jon Jones is number 1 pound for pound in the world today. I respect the boss's opinion. But the fact that inactivity is the reason why I have him number 3 on my list, because he hasn't fought in 16 months. And 16 months and 1 week to this day is the last time we saw Jon Jones in the octagon when he captured the heavyweight championship and failed to defend the heavyweight championship since winning the vacant title when Francis Ngannou no longer held the title. So I have to say he's number 3 due to not fighting for 16 months and 1 week to this day. That is important. Number 4 on my list is Sean O'Malley. Of course, he's growing on me as the bantamweight champion, and knocked out Aljamain Sterling last summer to win the bantamweight championship. You beat the man to become the man, and you did that in 2 rounds. And looked phenomenal in his first title defense when he defeated Marlon Vera, which was a shutout victory to me when he won all 5 of the championship fights by decision earlier this year, defending that bantamweight championship. We're going to see him in action very soon at the Sphere. So Sean O'Malley, to me, is becoming the guy in the UFC, a very polarizing figure. He likes to call out guys of Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia in boxing world. But the man is becoming his own box office attraction and it becoming a popular name in the UFC. A very talented fighter. I'm a fan of him. He's number 4 on my list. Number 5, Ilia Topuria. Now, Ilia Topuria has an MMA record of 15-0, which is very impressive. And to be the man, you got to beat the man, in the words of the nature boy Ric Flair. And he did that when he took the title away for Alexander Volkanovski earlier this year, and did it and knocked him out. Alexander Volkanovski, in my eyes, is one of, if not the greatest featherweight champion in UFC history. You beat the man. And now time will tell to see how good Ilia Topuria is, because it's a difference between when you're the hunter and you're the hunted. And we're going to see when Ilia Topuria defends that featherweight title, hopefully against Max Holloway later on this year, how good really is he when his back is against a wall and he's got to battle some adversity. But he deserves to be number 5 on my list due to the fact that he's undefeated and currently the featherweight champion. Now, number 6 is Alexandria Pantoja, for a reason, the king of the flyweight division. And I don't see a threat right now to Alexandria Pantoja right now at this flyweight division. The division really right now is all scattered. I mean, there are legitimate fighters at this flyweight division, but I just don't see anybody that can really take the title from Alexandria Pantoja right now. He's the reigning champion. He's never been afraid to fight the best of the best. He's really cleaned up this division over the last few years. So I don't know. Maybe he might have to consider moving up in the future, but he's number 6 on my list. Now, number 7 is Tom Aspinall, who is the interim heavyweight champion right now and has the potential to really take over this heavyweight division and possibly one day capture the heavyweight title. And he moves around the octagon like a light heavyweight. The man is 250, 260, but moves around like a 205 fighter in that octagon. The man is fast. He's athletic. He packs a punch. He's a powerful striker in that octagon. And he can end the fight. If you're not careful and not alert defensively, he can honestly end that fight in a blink of an eye. And the only UFC loss that Tom Aspinall has faced was when he fought Curtis Blades. And that was when the first time they fought a year ago, and his knee shattered 15 seconds into the fight when he tried to deliver that leg kick, the calf kick. That's his only UFC loss. He's been dominant ever since. And his duration, or I should say his average fight time in his last 3 to 4 fights is an average of 3 minutes. No more than 4 minutes. So Tom Aspinall has been dominant. He's the interim heavyweight champion for a reason. He's got to be number 7 on my list. 8, Israel Adesanya. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people might not have Israel Adesanya currently on their pound-for-pound list due to the fact that how he got dominated by Sean Strickland in his last fight. But I have to put him on there because 2-time middleweight champion, second greatest middleweight champion of all time behind the great Anderson Silva. 16 victories come away of knockout. One of the greatest kickboxers that the UFC has to offer on their roster or has ever seen in UFC history. I think he's just good enough to be on my pound for pound list right now. And his resume speaks for itself. Now, if he loses against DDP, kick him off the list. But for now, he still has to be a pound for pound guy on my list. He's number 8. Now, number 9 is Max Holloway. Max Holloway also is in the conversation for being one of the greatest featherweight champions in UFC history. And he's brought, there's a lot of fighters, like guys like Jose Aldo and Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway have brought a lot of prestige to this featherweight division. So as I think about it, I just gotta shout those guys out. But Max Holloway has shown he could be a difference maker at the featherweight division or the lightweight division now. He moved up at UFC 300, took a risk, and defeated Justin Gaethje. In my opinion, dominated Justin Gaethje on the UFC 300 card. Won that fight four rounds to 1, and knocked out Justin Gaethje when he said, "Stand your ass in the middle of this octagon. We're gonna brawl for the last 10 seconds. You give me everything you got, and I'm gonna give you everything that I got." And he displayed a knockout of the year candidate of all across the board, men and women's combat sports, MMA and boxing in the calendar year 2024. And he took Justin Gaethje's BMF title. You are the baddest motherfucker. You took that title. So, to me, he's shown he's a threat at the lightweight division and the featherweight division. I got to put him on my pound for pound list. And last but not least, Belal Muhammad deserves to get the last spot currently on my new updated pound for pound list due to the fact that he dominated Leon Edwards in the main event of UFC 304 a few weeks ago in Leon Edwards' backyard of Manchester, England, to take the welterweight championship from him. And he has every right to be on this list because he's climbed up the mountain, climbed up the rankings to be the king of this welterweight division. 11-fight winning streak, climbed and is the welterweight champion. He deserves to be on this pound for pound list. And I hope Belal Muhammad becomes a fighting champion with that welterweight title, which I do believe he will do. But 1 through 10, those are the following fighters I do believe have my respect and have the right to be on my updated UFC pound for pound list.